brightest regards, wise ones, and welcome back to my show. I'm Lady Leeanna, and this, of course, is Tarot Card Lessons Made Easy, where today we're here to talk about the Seven of Cups in the upright position, where you see first and foremost in the front ground of this card, you see a man orchestrating, like if he's creating things or he's manipulating and making things happen, right? And then you see all of these clouds in front of his face, and in all of these clouds you see these cups, the Seven of Cups strewn all about. You get a sense that this guy's head is in the clouds, which is what was intended actually in the creation of this card. And he's scattered all about because there are so many things in front of him that he doesn't know what to look at. He doesn't know what to reach to. Now, in the Seven Cups, which, by the way, remember that the cups always represent love, depth, creativity, and basically all of that is in there to begin with, right? And so you don't really need that to be portrayed within the cup as far as the individual symbols go of the things that are inside of the cup, but you get all kinds of other things. Now, in listening to other people online talk about the individual symbols in each of the Seven Cups, you hear people talking about how some of the symbols inside the cup represent positivity, and some of the symbols in other cups represent negativity. Which, you know, it could be that way, but I never got the feeling of that. They're actually making a reference to the fact that, well, the snake in one cup and the dragon in the other cup is negative, and perhaps the individual that rests under the fire red electrical looking blanket that is over that individual's head in one of the other cups, you know. But I never got that any of those symbols were directly representative of that which was negative, because for one thing, they do resonate with the ideas of the different branches of life that could say that there is positive and negative attributes to all of it. Now, as far as the snake goes, I found that in many different cultures, the snake represents change, but not only change, but knowledge and wisdom. The dragon itself, in many different cultures and many different people's understandings, I got that it represents courage and fiercity and strength. We also know that sexuality don't only have negative sides, it does have a positive side to itself. Otherwise, we wouldn't be bearing fruit. We would not be giving birth. We would not be procreating. And so I never saw negativity in any of these by itself for that reason. Well, we know that all of these symbols do have positive sides and negative sides to them. When you're talking about the head of man coming out of one cup, or it could be the God system. Well, we know that there's the polar opposite of anything positive we find in a God system. For every positive pantheon, there's a negative pantheon likewise. As far as sexuality, there is idol sexuality, and then there is sexuality for the purpose of procreating or bearing fruit, keeping the relationship bonds alive and good. As far as the negative of, well, that same card, you find that there is idol sexuality and abuse of power of one over others sexually, or it being all about themselves and not caring about the other individual that happens to be with them. As far as the snake, which I've kind of already talked about, it has aspects of knowledge and wisdom as well as change. But you also have the idea of the poisonous creature that we all know that could be deadly. And we all know that knowledge or wisdom could be a weapon against oneself in many different ways. Change may not altogether be for the good. We know that there is a positive and a negative side to change. As far as this castle goes, notice it doesn't look extravagantly beautiful. They could have made it more beautiful. It looks like a hunk of clay, simply fashioned together quickly by some kid's hands. But that could be a symbol of, well, you know, grand dreams of rising to big heights financially. But I believe that it was more of a representation of climbing or escalating up the ladder within one's social arena of things. And it isn't always, if you look at the negative side of it, it isn't always what you would think it is. Now, in the cup that's directly in front of the individual, you have great jewels and ideas of beautiful riches that rest all in the cup and overflowing from it. And we know that that could be good for you in a lot of different ways, and it can put you in a lot of great places with that social arena thing, if you will. But it also has a negative side. Riches has a negative side. Look at the idea of riches and taxation. You know, I mean, there's a perfect example of it. For all of those riches, there is the idea that you have to work for it. You have to work to keep it there. You have to refrain in certain instances so that you can hold on to what you've got. Or there is the miser effect. You could be a miser and not sharing or not good with those riches and not giving to other people. Now, you have a wreath of victory that stems from that cup that is directly to his right hand, in front of his right hand, and its horseshoe is resting in the upright position, like to feel it. Harmony, bounty of harvest home, haven of refuge, perfected work, victory in whatever you try to accomplish. But I feel that it is, in the grand scheme of things, anything that you would compete in trying to victorize, and that could be in grand sports, it could be in wars that you may be involved with. But we all know that every war can carry with it its bitterness. There is that one that is winning in the sport is out for themselves, and he thinks he's a one-man team and gives no respect to all of the other people within that team. Likewise, if there is a team, you know, there is the negative side of that likewise. And then there's the dragon. There's fierceness, there is courage, there is strength and ability to accomplish goals, you know. But there is abuse of many different forms that could stream from that idea that you've always got to be strong. You know, there is the idea also that men aren't supposed to cry, that fierceness and strength is pushed on them by maybe an authority figure abusively. So you see what I'm saying. I believe that the snake isn't necessarily representative of corruption or a snake in the grass, to go along with a lot of New Day prospects on that idea or whatever. But the snake, it represents knowledge and wisdom, and it can represent knowledge or wisdom that's turned against one, or using knowledge or wisdom and corruption to get what one wants. And that would be, or go into the snake in the grass ideal of things. But it doesn't all just necessarily represent that. And so I believe that all of these different symbols have a positive and negative side to them. So cutting to the chase with that, let's go forward. Now, Great Dreams, castles in the air. The one that's orchestrating everything is the master of his own life. Yes, to a degree. But because he's a dreamer, a fantasizer, and he is keeping his head in the clouds with all of this that he is thinking he's seeing before him. The illusion of grandeur in all of these fields or branches, having blindsided to the point where he can't make a choice. And now, with all of that, the card comes up to show the choices have to be made. Because the card is about choices, about many choices, and they could lend homage to every branch of life. And it could say that you're kind of confused and strewn all about toward what you should be focused on, and so your forces have been scattered. And that's a term that was used in the original Rider Waite books, at least copyrighted before 1983. Great dreams, castles in the air, some attainment, but nothing substantial as yet. Your forces have been scattered. And that was the meaning of this card in the older books. And you can definitely see that in this card. Yes, you're orchestrating things, but you're doing it in your mind. And it gives a lot of movement toward fantasizing about it, planning and hoping and wishing. But where is the action? You're so busy up here that you're losing down here. And so your window of choice is going to close, and then you're going to be stuck with nothing if you're not cautious. And that's what this card is saying to me. And ideas to do with love. It may mean that you're so busy in your own head, idly, just focusing on you, or your job, or what you're trying to accomplish in business, or your pride is so thick, or you think you know everything and no one else has room for floor. Whenever coming to choices or decision in love, your mate is going to suffer because of that, or you're never going to have a love because you're too busy with all of this that you'll never find somebody that actually works well with you. And ideas of business, you might be so overly occupied sexually that you're messing up in every other way that you possibly can. Going up and picking out one night stands and then not getting to work till 2 hours late each time. There's so many different, or you could be thinking about that love at home that your heart belongs to so much when you go on the battlefield that you're not going to win on that battlefield. You're going to lose and probably fall to your enemy and that. So basically what we get here is the many different branches of life that you could be focused on, because your mind is on everything and you're having such a hard time focusing that you're going to lose in most of what you're trying to do, because you need more groundment. You need your way too in the air. You're too about the air right now, and it's going to get you into a world of trouble. Now, the card can represent dreams. It could represent fantasies that are getting the better of you, because if you're fantasizing too deeply about the things that you could obtain, then your reality, whenever it comes down to it, is going to be lacking in the end result. You're setting that bar far too high in the end, so you are going to lose. Where you need to stay grounded, stay focused, work toward the end goal. And in the end result, it'll be what it is, but you will have worked as hard as you possibly could to achieve that. Now, all of these different branches of life don't have to compete with each other, although at times within our lives we find that they do. As a matter of fact, we need any 2 or 3 different bits of these symbols going on at one time to keep life balanced in a way that we don't burn out. Like, we could be working too hard, but if we didn't have the little significant other at home to make us feel loved or what have you, then we are going to think that life is just about working and there's not much to it, so forth, you know. So, you know, all of these different things in life go on at one time, but the main focus of the card is to remind you that you need to keep yourself focused. You need to realize that there is positives and negatives to everything within all branches of life, and that if you don't apply a good steady focus and force to the things you're trying to accomplish, then you will accomplish nothing. And so that's what this card is saying to me. So stay focused, stay grounded. The different cards around this one within your spread will help to decipher exactly what the subject of the reading is actually focusing on when you're going over their cards, or if you're reading yourself for you, what area of life the cards are actually focusing on, and kind of help to keep it together for you if you are looking at things realistically. Also, the spaces on your tarot card board, for lack of a better term, will also tell you exactly how to look at the card, or what branch of life might be most important for you to reflect on as you see this within that layout. Anyway, I hope that this card explanation has been of a help to you today, and that I've given you what you had hoped. Please, by all means, if you like the video, hit the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. But take care of yourself, be positive and light, and good journeys on your pathway of learning the tarot card.